Hey there, everybody. It's Katie here from Easy Air Rentals. I am very excited today to talk a little bit about getting started with a vacation rental in our South Florida market. So if you've recently purchased or are considering buying a vacation rental in South Florida, this presentation is for you. A little bit about me. I am one of the co-founders of Easy Air Rentals. We are a local vacation rental management company here in South Florida. So first off, let's talk about the rental landscape in South Florida. What's the draw for the majority of people? Of course, it's our warm weather, our beautiful beaches, lots of festivals, events, fun things to do in our area. We have several cruise ports that are close to really all the main cities here. We have one in Miami, one in Fort Lauderdale, one in Palm Beach. Lots of snowbirds that come and stay for longer, like middle stay, I guess, periods. We have high demand seasons, off-peak periods. So our high season would be considered winter and spring. So starting from around December through April or May, we have the bulk of our visitors come. And then our off-peak period would be considered to be fall and summer. However, summer we do get kind of a little bit of a pop, and then we get into hurricane season, which is slower. Our main guest segments that will be visiting us on a regular basis, the highest percentage of visitors is, of course, our domestic vacationers, mainly people coming from the Northeast is the largest demographic of guests that we get. We get a lot of Canadian travelers and other international European travelers, and otherwise South American as well. So one of our biggest groups of travelers here in South Florida, particularly in Palm Beach, which is where we're located, is snowbirds. So we have a lot of people who come and stay for the duration of the season, which is a great opportunity for us to get some, longer stays that for example, somebody will maybe come in December and then leave in March, or maybe they'll stay for a month at a time. We get a lot of extended stays during the season. We also get a lot of extended stays during the off season as well, but that's more, going to be like business travelers or people traveling for medical reasons. We have a lot of different top medical facilities here, so that's become another growing demographic of travelers that has just gotten more popular over time. Some of the most notable demand shifts that we've seen post-COVID are that we're getting a lot more last minute bookings. So people will wait until the last minute to make a booking. This is something which is pretty different than what has been in years past. We're also seeing the midterm stay popularity, the rise for that. Obviously, we had a pretty larger share than, I guess, average in our area with all of our snowbirds, but we're seeing that increase even more with the rise of more business travelers, especially in off-peak times, and also like digital nomads. Some of the things that are important to keep in mind in order to kind of set yourself apart and stay differentiated where there can be some saturation is the rise of luxury or experience-based stays, or really just having a niche. I think it's very important that when you are purchasing a property that you have something in mind of what you want to do, having just like with any marketing, you want to have your target demographic, your target customer or client, and have them in mind when you're designing, decorating the property, whether that's, you want to kind of focus on inviting more girls trips or wellness retreats, or maybe appealing to a certain like group of people that's more niche. The more that we can do that, the more that we can sort of segment and have a success in setting ourselves apart. One of the other things that's important is being aware of local regulations. We'll get into that momentarily, and also just being aware of the OTAs, the different popular ones. Right now, Airbnb has been the most popular for a long time. Vrbo is a close second. and Booking.com is coming in third there. And then we're seeing a rise with more direct bookings. That's becoming more popular, and definitely that's a huge goal for us to increase and maximize our direct bookings. Okay, so let's talk licensing. Very important to do your research here, extremely important. Before you buy a property, you've got to see what are the rules in your city, and what do you need to do in order to get everything set up. So you're going to need to have your county BTR receipt, business tax receipt. You'll need to set up tax accounts with the state and with the county. And then you'll also need to pass an inspection for the majority of the cities. There are some cities where you don't need to do that, but as time goes on, a lot of these cities are getting stricter, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. We appreciate having very clear guidelines and rules so that we can make sure that we're following them. There's a few cities that are still kind of haven't really got very clear rules on the books. But just to give some, quick examples of some of the most popular cities in our area, West Palm Beach is a pretty easy one to get registered with. Fort Lauderdale, more hoops to jump through, more in-depth inspection. Same thing with Hollywood and North Palm Beach. Those are some tougher cities that when we have a house registered there, we need to make sure that we've gotten everything really squared away before getting listed. Some of the other cities are, a little bit more laid back. There's also some cities that have very strict minimum stay requirements, like for example, Delray Beach or Boca Raton. So you really want to just make sure you're paying attention to that. Another thing to consider is insurance. So when you're purchasing, you're going to want to get the insurance information, get some quotes on the short-term rental insurance, because it is going to be different than doing long-term. Okay, so let's talk about revenue and costs. One of the very important things that you should do, and something that we always do, spend a good bit of time on and are pretty knowledgeable about, is looking at competition, looking at the going rates in different areas, different neighborhoods. Location is very key. You could be in one side of a popular area and then you go maybe a mile away and rates are going to be completely different. If you're close to the water here in South Florida, like for example in West Palm, if you're east of Dixie Highway, that's it's a different price that you're looking at paying for a property, and it's also going to be, different nightly rates that you're going to be looking at. So it's very important. You want to get micro into your neighborhood that you have purchased in and understand what are the rates like in that area. And then another thing to consider is not only that, but you also want to see what are the seasonal changes. So for example, I would say comparing to off-season to season, you could get double to triple the amount during season than you are going to get in off-season. Some of your key operating costs, cleaning, maintenance, utilities, internet, your property management fees, all of these are non-negotiables. You have to take care of them, either, bootstrapping if you're going to do that yourself, but most likely you'll probably be hiring those out. You also are going to look at, you're going to want to get most likely some lawn maintenance if you have a single family home with a pool, which is what we do recommend. That's kind of our go-to. You're going to want to have a pool, pool maintenance, lawn. So those are all things that you're going to factor into your expenses on a regular basis. You're also going to need to consider that we are going to be restocking the property with supplies on a regular basis as well, whether we will, the property manager, or you will need to. So the number one thing that we always tell people when they ask us what is the most important thing to do that's just a non-negotiable in purchasing a property, you've got to purchase a property with a pool or put a pool in. That's the reason that people are coming here to South Florida. There is a lot of competition out there and it makes it a lot harder. We've seen this play out many times now. It's just harder to compete when your property does not have a pool. Now, that being said, there might be, different use cases for your property. Like, for example, you might be located directly on the beach. We have a couple properties that are like that, and they also are very successful, but they're catering towards another highly sought after, you know, situation, or just having that location on the beach. There's not a lot of properties like that. So you kind of got to think about what's going to set you apart. What can you do to maximize your success? And another one of the things that we always suggest and will, assist our clients with is making sure we have wonderful high quality photos. We can get sunset shots, and then we'll also stage the photos and add props. We'll, add some fresh fruits, fresh flowers, maybe some pool floats, anything to make the photos more appealing and just, kind of paint a picture, tell a story, and just let the guests visualize themselves being in your property and enjoying it. We are all about communication. Got to provide that 5-star guest experience. There is just, there's too much competition now to not do so. And that's something that, we've definitely just learned over the years and have worked hard to, within our company, really, emphasize how important it is to just drive those 5-star reviews and be able to leverage reviews so that we can get future bookings. Okay, so let's go through our checklist here. You're getting started. Number 1, you're going to research and choose your property. You want to choose a neighborhood, a size, all the things that are going to work within your budget and what you think is going to maximize your investment if that's your goal, or if your goal is, that this is going to be a second home, you're looking at that. But regardless, you got to understand your numbers. You need to get set up legally, make sure you have your city license, all the things squared away. Make sure that you understand that preferably before you purchase the property, so that you can, once you have the home, you know what to do, or we can help you with that process. And then the next very important step, which we think, it's something you don't want to skimp on, is you've got to have some great design in your property, whether you're hiring someone or that's, something in your wheelhouse that you're talented at. We need to make sure that your property has a, something differentiating it, something that's making it stand apart, and also that there is good design. There's nice decoration, it's done well. And then following that, once we have the property ready to go, we will go ahead and get your listing created and optimized. So we're going to look at keywords. We're going to make sure that those are strategically included in your listing so that you can appear in the search results higher in Google and of course on Airbnb and Vrbo, making sure that you've got the best photos in the best order, using good captions and all of those things. Pricing strategy, maybe you start a little bit lower at the beginning to gather some reviews, and then you kind of move on from there. And then next, so then you're going to launch. You will have your booking calendar that will help you keep track of everything. You'll be doing your guest communication as the guests, check in and out, making sure that they have maybe a guidebook. That's what we do. We have a digital guidebook we send to each of our guests. Maybe you provide a welcome gift. You're going to want to make sure that you're providing the best possible service, have an excellent cleaning team who is going to turn the property over and have it sparkling and spotless, like, nobody has been there, and just like a hotel. And then following that, you're going to track your performance, adjust, and see how things are going, see what you can improve, and then work off of that, try to, use what you've got and make it better. So coming back to the different options for management, you can do self-management. Obviously, there's a higher profit potential there, but much more time commitment. And this is something that can be very, it's very unpredictable. You might have a week where things are going kind of smooth and slow, or at least easy for you, and then something happens. There's a maintenance issue, there's a guest issue, there's all kinds of things can happen, some dispute that you have to handle, and that's where having a full service management company really can come in handy, because it just is hands off for you. You're able to let them manage whatever occurs. There's all kinds of situations, whether it's something with your license or a guest issue, or needing to adjust pricing, working on the listing to make it better. All those things can be handled by your management company, Another option is a hybrid model, which is not something that we currently offer, but just worth mentioning, where maybe you handle the guest communication and maybe then you outsource your cleaning and maintenance. Okay, some common pitfalls to avoid. Um, Ignoring local regulations is never really a good idea in the long term. It might work out for a little while, but it's going to come back to get you usually. And this is something that we have experienced, especially in the beginning when we first got started. We would take a property on and then, the owner would say, hey, I don't want to get registered. I'd rather just let it be. And then, we have issues. The city is leaving us a note on your door, whatever it could be. It's better just to deal with these things as they come, and that's not why now, over the years, we have made it our policy that, we require to have all of these things set in place before we get started with listing the property, which is just a best practice. Another pitfall that we've seen is underestimating costs, especially upfront costs can be, they can be a lot. You're setting up an entire house, you're furnishing an entire house, and then you have to also understand that it's going to take a little while to build up momentum, build up reviews and all of those things. It takes a little bit of time. That being said, once you've built this up, it is a long-term investment. So it's something that you're going to want to set up the right way, have everything in order, and then you can really enjoy some great profit and revenue for years to come. But you've got to understand that the startup, the seasonality, those are things to just consider and keep in mind. Another pitfall definitely would be poor quality photography, or just kind of a lackluster presentation. You're really shooting yourself in the foot, and this is definitely something that we've had clients come to us and say, hey, I'm trying to manage, this property myself, but they did not invest in professional photography. And then once we got the professional photography set up for them, it made all the difference. You've got to keep in mind that, this is a business. The more professionally that we can present you, or that you can present yourself, the better. Another pitfall is not having backup plans, or not having sort of, a good way of dealing with maintenance emergencies. So for example, for us, we keep track, we do a due diligence when we bring a new property on each time, and we keep track of all of the information about the appliance, all of the VIN number, whatever the information that we need. And then we also, another maintenance emergency that we run into sometimes is an AC issue. Make sure that you're regularly servicing your AC. Go ahead and spend the money to do your regular AC maintenance. Also, make sure you've got a spare key. If you've got a keypad, make sure you have a hidden rock or something with a key, because those are things that they're going to happen eventually. So it's important to have a plan for it, so that you don't get caught, in the middle of the night and you don't have any way, there's a guest lockout or something like that. And last one, in our area, very specific to South Florida, you've got to be very aware of hurricane season. So hurricane season lasts, peak hurricane season is from about August through October. It really starts a little earlier and ends a little later, but those are the peak months, and that's when the vast majority of hurricanes occur. So just make sure that you have a plan in place. Florida now requires homes that are new builds or, are being renovated to have hurricane glass. So you want to make sure, if you don't have hurricane glass, that you have shutters, that you have those, that you know how that they can be installed. So if they're being stored somewhere, maybe in a shed behind your house or something, that you know how they're supposed to be installed. You have instructions you can give to a handyman, so that if that does come up, then you're ready for it. And also just a general plan. That's something that we do with our company. We just make sure that we have kind of a game plan going into hurricane season, so everyone knows the drill if that does happen, and no one is, caught unawares. Please reach out to us if you would like to discuss anything further and in more detail. We would love to talk with you. Or, if you would like to discuss your specific property and your area to get more information, we're happy to do that. So don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.